Hey guys, it's Salamic here with DNB Academy, and today I want to take a look at how I would turn an atmosphere, be that an atmospheric sample that you've downloaded, one you put yourself, whatever, basically, into a full tune. Or at least the sketches of a full tune. We're not going to obviously finish a full tune in 10 minutes or whatever, but yeah, just to get the idea of where I would go from there. So we've got our atmosphere here at the top that we built previously. If you want to watch that video, it's just on this channel. Take a look and then come back here, might be helpful. So here we go. So there's that, and just for ease's sake and sort of a bit of speed, I guess, I've got a piano here. This is just the Spitfire or original felt piano. I've got a Reese here. And then we've got some drum samples here as well. Cool, so let's run through these. So the first thing I would probably do is just sketch out an arrangement. I don't always do this right at the start of the process, but it's something that's nice and quick, so we'll call that structure. And we'll just sketch that out. So intro, verse, drop A, drop B, drop C, and we'll just repeat that. There we go. It's a little on the shorter side, it's only 3.5 minutes, but for the sake of example. And I'll start moving some of my elements around. So drums, all the way through the drop for now. Any edits and stuff that I would do, I'll kind of dive in and do that later. But as I said, we're just trying to sketch an example now. And I'll drag the atmosphere all the way through. And then I can change the way that the filter works. So maybe for the verse, it goes down, opens up just before the drop, and then the last little bit before the drop. And then goes even lower on the drop, and then opens up slowly over each 16. But each time over the drop, maybe we do the filter a little bit higher. So I tend to do this quite early on. Even if I'm not doing it right at the start of the process, just to make my life a little bit easier. So that when I'm going through, it's harder for me to then get stuck, basically. That's what I'm trying to avoid, is being like, I don't know where this tune's going next, because I've already sketched out roughly where I'm going. If I'm not sure on how to lay out a structure, then I've done a video on that as well. Bit of a theme here. Check that out and then come back. So cool. Step number 1 is done. Let's write some piano chords. So before I've done any processing, this is all default. I'm just going to go in. Because we're going to be playing low velocity chords, I'm just going to turn that volume up. Low velocity means it'll just be quieter. And so by cranking that volume up, we can keep the kind of softer piano, but keep the level as something that we can work with. Let's start. And so again, if you're uncomfortable with music theory, I've done a video on that. Check that out. But I'm thinking let's start on a more major chord. So let's go with the C to start with, the B, which would be the 6th chord in the scale, would be a major chord. Flesh that chord out. Always try and get some 7ths and stuff in there as well. Just sounds nice. Let's move to a more minor chord. So if we're in E flat, let's look at maybe the 4 chord might work. So 1, 2, 3, there we go. And I try and keep as little movement in the notes as I can. So I'm trying to put stuff like relative to where it was before, if that makes sense. So for example, that F sharp is going to go to that F sharp. I'm thinking that B goes down to that G sharp. That's not too major of a movement. And then we've got a B as our next note. So maybe that A, although I quite like the idea of things going down, descending. And so maybe we do a G sharp there as well. And then we'll land on our lower E. And again, we're descending, so let's keep everything, or the E flat, sorry, keep everything moving down. Let's put in a third, which is the F sharp. Nice. And we'll put in another note down here. I'm just going to do a few little edits. So the first thing we're going to do is to humanize that piano. So I'm just going to go to groove, grooves in here, drag in any one, it doesn't matter. Change the bass to an 1/8, turn our timing to 0, our velocity to 0, and our random up. Now when I add this, what this will do is randomize the start of the MIDI notes. You can hear it sounds more human and more spread now. I'm aware that in, I think Live 12, they're adding some stuff that will be able to do this. As of recording, Live 12 is not out yet, so we are working in Live 11. I also don't have the beta for Live 12. So yeah, we'll work with this for now. The next thing I'm going to do, and whilst it doesn't matter here because we're holding the chords, I'm going to shorten the chords a little bit. That being said, and I'm just going to add some sustain pedal to these. Okay. And now we can go in and add a few little extra notes. Let's try the E flat, I quite like that. And let's maybe try up a few notes. Cool, and let's just copy that over. In fact, what I would often do is double that piano. Copy those. Oh. And now we've got drop piano and verse piano. And the reason is now that I can like EQ them differently dependent on where they're happening in the tune. One thing that I've also thought of that we can do to vary this pad up a little bit is just add like a little LFO to it. Subtle, so it's not like, you know, 100% like. We could even adjust the shape to make it. Cool. So we've got our piano. We've got some chords laid out now. So let's start adding a bass line. So I'll just echo the chords that we've got. So and we can actually bring in some of these elements a little bit earlier. Let's maybe, and a lot of this, again, this is like taste and experimentation. So you can see how we're building it out. I'm being like, okay, I've got this, add this element. How does that fit? How does that sound? And the more you do this, the more comfortable you'll get with adding elements as well. One thing I want to try is actually reversing some of these pianos, because I'm not quite sold on the piano. I'm hit and miss with pianos. Sometimes I think they sound great. Sometimes I think they just sound a bit cheap. And in this instance, it's feeling a little cheap to me. So let's reverse. So that works. That's high pass, because it's going to be happening over the Reese regardless at the moment. And add some reverb to that to add a little bit of space. We need to add a few different things to this bass. So let's add saturator to bring out some of those upper harmonics. That's without, and that's with. It's obviously louder, but there's also a little bit more of that kind of top end harshness that comes out. Let's add a utility and just do some sidechain. Again, I've done like videos on sidechain as well. So that won't be perfect, but it will kind of do for now. Cool little trick we can also do with this is to add some sidechain to the atmosphere. But massively exaggerate it, so it's essentially bringing out that like kick groove. One thing I've also done with this before is to use the automation tool. So if you drag these corners here on the like square, when you highlight a sort of series of automation, is to have it so that it pumps a lot at the start and then slowly stops and opens up towards the end. So you can see there that like the automation is getting less and less and less. And it just helps kind of connect sections together and sort of pulse into sections. I love that kind of thing. Let's add a little high pass filter to that Reese, just to connect those sections together so that there's a bit more of a transition happening. And add a little kind of fill, I guess. Let's take that from where we've not got a crash. Feels a little kind of garagey, I suppose, with the crash in it. And turn that down a bit. I'm actually going to turn the fade off. Let's go back and manually do each one, just to bring them. So there's like some, it feels like it's kind of creeping in, I guess. And I'm copying each one just so that I've got a reference point on where the volume was on the last one. I can kind of bring that up a couple of dB rather than having to remember or go back. Cool, and then the final little ingredient, let's add an ARP. So I'm going to go to Serum, find a preset. I've got a bunch of like saved presets. Here we go, so this is an ARP from my tune Paro. I don't save all the bits from all of my tunes, but I absolutely should do. And then nice. Very rare that you type 4 notes in that are in key and they happen to sound good, but that's worked, so we'll go with that. Cool, and we can make some adjustments to that here as well. Nice, that will work. We can obviously edit this ARP as well. So I'll just make some adjustments there. Add some reverb. Bit of delay. One thing we can do as well is like take some elements out of this atmosphere bus. Now we're filtering stuff, so actually this, call it Emo Atmos, this preset that I used in building that. Actually sounds quite nice out of the filter. And there you go. So I realised that there were kind of elements there that are obviously me working out what I think will be the best next stage. And this is by no means a finished tune. This is a sketch by which I would then work and finish it off. But there, hopefully that was helpful. I might actually turn this into something. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, any questions, let us know, and I'll see you in the next one.